There is a magician of great ability in this country. He can turn a seed into a fruity fruit tree in a few seconds. Besides, he can also turn a sword into the drop of Thor, and no one can pull it except the heir to the throne. Of course, it can also help his first love to continue with him. The magician is well known in the city, and the theater is packed with people for every performance. The orange tree is maturing under everyone's eyes. The dancing butterfly stealthily takes away a lady's silk scarf. The police come backstage and ask the magician how it was done. The magician naturally avoids talking, so the sheriff invites him to perform for the prince the next day. The prince arrives as promised, and the magician invites a volunteer to cooperate with today's magic. The prince recommended his fiancée. The fiancée was the magician's first love 15 years ago. They immediately recognize each other, but in this situation, they could only pretend to be strangers. The fiancée puts on a red cloak and stands in front of the mirror. Her movements in the mirror are not synchronized with her when she bows and hugs her arms. There is another red cloak in it. She stabbed her sword at the red cloak in front of her. Magic is very successful, but the magician is still depressed. He misses his first love. When he was young, he learned magic from a master. These extraordinary skills instantly attracted the young duke's daughter. They loved at first sight and fell in love quickly, but the gap between their identities led to their final separation. The reunion once love again roared out. Soon after that, they date again. The prince still doesn't believe in the magician and asks him to go to the palace to perform for the royal family. The magician arranges a good play. He inserts the prince's sword into the floor, claiming that only a real heir to the throne can pull out the sword. Sure enough, only the prince pulls out his sword. But the prince still doesn't want to make it easy on the magician. The magician's theater is shut down because he takes the prince out of the limelight. The magician calmly packs up and plans to elope with his first love, but he is caught by the sheriff's men before he ran away. The prince is very angry and calls his fiancée to quarrel with him. Soon the sheriff saw his fiancée leave the palace on her horse. The next day, the body of his fiancée is found by a nearby river. The heartbroken magician accuses the prince of murder. The magician's accusation is fruitless. He angrily sets up a crew to perform and summon souls to the public. The fiancée points out that her killer is under the stage, and the prince is sitting under the stage in disguise. Angrily, the prince raises his sword and stabs the magician. However, the magician is also a soul. How can he be stabbed without an entity? The magician escapes, and the sheriff seriously investigates the case. According to the backstage drawing of the necklace, the sheriff finds the necklace in the stable. With a flick of the mechanism, the picture in the necklace falls beside an emerald. This emerald is exactly the lost gem on the prince's saber. The prince can't argue. In the face of strong evidence, the throne will not pass to a murderer. He reluctantly shoots himself. The matter has come to an end. The next day, while the sheriff is walking on the road, he sees a man who looks like the magician taking the orange tree magic method that the magician lets the boy give him. He catches up. Watching the magician get on the train, the sheriff suddenly realizes that it was designed by the magician from beginning to end. When the prince drank the ecstasy, his fate was in the hands of the magician. It is the ordinary magician who uses the smoke and mirrors, the ordinary magician who uses the magic, and the real great magician who plays with people's hearts.